welcome back to my channel. I'm Wina, and if it's your first time here, hello everyone. So usually I talk about books and upload some life vlogs on this channel, but today I thought that I would be starting the series and the segment that I plan to do consistently on here along with the bookish and productivity and life vlog content, which is WinaWorks, where we will talk about career things and work things and life things, because as much as literature and writing are in my DNA, another thing that is also in my DNA is training, organizational development, that kind of thing. I've never really talked about this before, but my family's business is basically in training, organizational development, lifelong education, that sort of thing. And I've also had a lot of experience in training, and I've also done like a lot of different jobs, and I'm currently working for an international organization, one of the agencies of the United Nations. I feel like I have a lot of things to say on this topic, and I just realized lately that it's my 10-year work anniversary, and that's crazy for me. It feels like just yesterday. Late ako gumraduate, guys. Like, I'm a late bloomer. That's a story for another video siguro. Pero, yeah, it's definitely okay to be a late bloomer. You know, pagka late kayo gumraduate, hindi naman, I don't know, hindi siya dapat issue for me. And meron akong like 1 year almost na halos lahat ng subjects ko bagsak, like for that term. And it's not because hindi ko siya gets. It's not even because it was particularly difficult, but I was just going through a really tough time and sobrang like demotivated ko. And I can't, it's too long. But basically I had a lot of like personal troubles and and I let school slip. I was just like, goodbye. Magwawalwal ako with my friends. I'm gonna explore and live my life. And yeah, that's also the point in time when I realized, shit, ayoko ata mag-doktor kahit napatapos na ako ng pre-med. Anyway, like I said, story for another time. Today, what I want to focus on really is just 5 tips to get yourself out of a work slump. And this video is something I really wanted to do because number one, I've kind of been in a work slump for the past 2 months or so, where I'm just really like figuring out, is this what I want to do? Is this leading anywhere? Is this job, you know, the right job for me? And also, is my self-esteem still intact? Like, Wina, okay pa ba tayo? Wina, kaya mo pa ba? And that's okay. You know, doubting and asking questions is never a bad thing. I think every time that you ask questions, the things you believe in, the things you want, all of the positive stuff is also reinforced. Positive things and negative things always go hand in hand. You need to doubt in order to believe in something, and you need to question in order to seek answers. That's normal. But that said, I also know how difficult it is and how demotivating it can be, especially when, you know, let's face it, nasa Pilipinas tayo, guys. Like, wala naman tayong options to, you know, to not work. Or even if we did have the option to not work, I think it's also about independence and also about ownership over your life. That you are doing something that will give you your own money and your own freedom and your own decision-making power. So yeah, if we live in this kind of world and this setting also in our country, like, I thought a lot about, you know, watching all of these videos and like, I don't dream of labor, etc. And I just can't help but think like, I wish we lived in a society where we could even begin to have those kinds of conversations. But honestly, when you live in a country like the Philippines, I think we're so far removed from that. Because for us, the dream is sustainable labor. We're not even thinking about like, hi, like when will I stop working? We're thinking, when will I get a job that will treat me right? Like, how can I get a job that will treat me right? As much as I acknowledge the importance of that conversation on I do not dream of labor, etc., I think the reality is that we do live in a society that has money as currency and where capital and labor coexist in the way that they do. So while we're here, let's try and survive with our mental health intact. So number one, I want to say stop with the negative self-talk. Huwag mo na dinidiin sa sarili mo lahat ng mga pagkakamali mo, na wala kang kwenta, na hindi ka magaling, etc. Stop it. And I mean this on a big scale and also on a small scale. I've noticed sometimes with friends, with colleagues, that when they make a mistake, they say things like, ay bobo, or ay tanga-tanga kasi, something like that. And even if you don't mean it, obviously, or even if pa-joke nyo lang sinasabi, the things that you say to yourself also have an impact. And they also affect the way that you see yourself in the long term. Isipin mo, if yung mga ibang tao, hindi mo nga sila kasama lagi. Pero the things that they tell you, they stick, right? If someone tells you, you're great, you're amazing, that makes your day. If someone tells you, you suck and you're horrible, then that also affects you. So, you know, be kind to yourself. And I'm not saying naman na maging delusional, na parang like, na parang if you mess up, you're like, oh my god, ang galing-galing mo. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can always say things in a way that's positive rather than negative. So for example, in my case, share ko lang, one of the things I've really been grappling with at work is that I'm not good at math. Like, I hate accounting because in high school, our teacher used to lock us in the classroom. As in, bawal kami mag-lunch if hindi mag-balance yung balance sheet. So yun, yung ledger, ganun. So yun talaga yung ayoko. But part of my job has a function similar. I mean, of course, ngayon naman Excel na. So it's a little better. Thank you, Microsoft. So there are times when I make mistakes and sobrang tempting. Minsan din nadudulas talaga ako na parang, my God, hindi na ako mga ganun. But the longer that I kind of would say those things to myself, and the more na ginagawa ko siya, na-realize ko then it's becoming a habit and it's just dragging me down, and it's not gonna help anyone. Like, just because you told yourself na, I don't know, na like bobo ka or na tanga ka or something, that doesn't make things better. Like, wala naman din improvement, and actually, mas strengthen pa yung neural connections in your mind na spark ng negative emotions, because that's part of motivation. We feel motivated when we get rewarded for things that we do, right? So if every time na you do that task, sasabihin mo sa sarili mo na bobo ka, pinapunish mo yung sarili mo, and eventually you won't want to do that task. So something that I've been trying to do for myself is every time I'm going to do that task, I tell myself, Wina, you're gonna learn a new skill. Wina, you're gonna learn something that you'll be able to use in the future. It's gonna kind of give you some more incentive to keep doing those things, even if they're not necessarily pleasurable activities. And I also want to say, stop being down on yourself for feeling the way that you're feeling. I know that right now, like, millennials are going through a tough time, and I think a lot of people have kind of labeled this behavior of only doing the bare minimum as quiet quitting. But then my friend Jay, or Jason Cruz, he also has a really great YouTube channel. I will link it below if you guys don't follow him already. Jay posted on LinkedIn and he was saying that it's kind of unfair to call this behavior quitting, because it's not like employees are resigned, or it's not like they're not doing their jobs. They're just doing what's actually on the JD, and at the heart of it, it's a way of trying to set boundaries between your needs as a person and what you can offer as an employee. Forgive yourself. You can't be everything all at once, everywhere. You're not a Michelle Yeoh movie. Next, I want to say, identify your circle of influence and be very, very specific about it. What are things in the situation that you can't control, and what can you control or at least influence? An example I can give here is a lot of problems that people have at work are really about other people, and like, you know, behaviors that other people have, and conflicts between colleagues and co-workers, friction maybe, and you know, that happens everywhere. I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was telling me, you know, there are egotistical people wherever you go, in whatever industry you are involved in. Iba-iba lang talaga ng salte. If you can have a conversation, maybe a mediated conversation with whoever it is that's bothering you, then maybe you can kind of influence that situation, not necessarily to change the other person, but maybe to find a middle ground that you can both work with. I just want to say, don't make decisions based on things that you can't control or things that are outside of your control. I have this one friend from a previous place of employment where she was like, baka naman mag-quit siya. Baka naman mag-quit siya like in the next year or so, because she was having trouble with like a colleague of hers. And I was like, I don't think you should make your decision to stay or go based on that, because you can't control if she quits or not, and you don't have a timeline for that. Like, you don't know if she's gonna quit whenever, because you're not this other person, right? So yeah, just identify your circle of influence and plan based on that. What are the things within the job that maybe you can do to make things more bearable for you? And once you delineate that, you'll relieve the pressure to succeed and be okay, and also relieve the pressure to quit and just to be like, kung ayaw mo, bakit andito ka pa? You know, to deal with that whole thing. Ganun eh. That's life sometimes. Third, look at what you want in your career. Whenever we feel dissatisfaction, it's also because there's a part of us that already knows what we want, right? We know what skills we have that we can bring to the table. We know the ideal work setup that isn't being fulfilled currently. And whether you find that eventually in your current job, or whether you find it in greener pastures in the future, at least this is still an opportunity to create motivation to wake up every morning and to put your thinking hat on. I mean, after all, every day that you spend at work is still a day gained in experience that will help you in the future. So yeah, what do you want to do with your career? What is it that you have to look forward to in the next few years? And this kind of leads me into the fourth tip, which is identify opportunities. I feel like this always helps me get out of a slump, because whenever the world looks super bleak and I'm just like, like there's no future, what's happening? I always kind of tell myself like, you know, Wina, in the next couple of years, this could be an opportunity. Or in the next couple of years or months or weeks, this is something you could start working on. These are the kinds of jobs or milestones that you could achieve. These are the kinds of institutions that you could apply to. And regardless of whether or not you actually end up working there or doing what you want, just being able to articulate that to yourself kind of gives you hope for the future, that things will not always be this bad. Things will not always be this demotivating. And lastly, I would say, give yourself some first aid. I feel like being in a state of distress at work or being in a slump at work is really similar to spraining your back when you are working out. It's like you're trying to lift too much and you're not strong enough to bear it yet. So in line with that, as you get stronger, you also have to administer some first aid to yourself to make sure that you will survive and that you will be okay. Something I've really enjoyed doing is giving myself daily rest stops or daily points of motivation and scattering those points during the toughest times of the day. So for example, every morning, to motivate myself to wake up early, something I would do is like, okay, you're gonna eat something great for breakfast. Like, you know, I'd keep something in the ref that I really want to eat for the next day, whether it's McDo or maybe I'll order McDo the next day, pancakes, something like that. And I'll just tell myself na, okay, matulog ka na, or, you know, motivate ka gumising bukas because yes, girl, you're gonna have McDo pancakes, or you're gonna brew coffee, that kind of thing. And something I've loved to do during the lowest point of the day, which for me is around 2 p.m. Kasi I tend to, especially if I'm working from home, I tend to overextend like past my lunch break. So if I would eat at 12, I'll ignore it because I won't be hungry yet. And then around 2, I'll get really, really grumpy and my energy will be really, really low. So at that point, right after I take my lunch at around like 1:30 or 2 p.m., at that point, I'll either watch an episode of a K-drama or something that I'm really looking forward to as I'm eating lunch. Or if I'm in the office, I'll listen to a K-pop song or watch a K-pop video. It's just like 3 minutes long that I really, really love, of like 17 or something, and that will just get me psyched for the rest of my day and kind of give me some pockets of positivity and happiness. And of course, also keep in touch with the people who revitalize you. Yeah, pockets of positivity. And that's it for this video. Did you guys enjoy this? How are you guys doing at work? I hope you are not in a slump, but if you are, feel free to share what's up in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Bye!